Howdy, campers, and welcome back to another episode of Impling Update, the series where I yap your ear off once a week, just talking about anything I feel like and how the 26k hard clue grind has been going. First off, the observant among y'all might have noticed that this is coming out on a Thursday instead of Monday, like I said they'd originally be coming out on. And that's because I realized Mondays just don't actually work that well for this. I originally wanted it to come out on Monday because that would be right before the clue opening for the week. But I'm like, I think it's better to do it later in the week when I've already done my opening, I've already released my video for the week. That way I can kind of recap what happened this week. And it makes a little bit more sense, in my opinion, because if there's going to be like a new main series video coming out on Tuesday, it feels bad releasing something on Monday, and I can't talk about what's going to be in the video Tuesday because I don't want to spoil it. So from now on, it is going to be coming out on Thursday. So we've had about like a week and a half since our last Impling update, and it's been going well still. The last clue stack went well overall, but I definitely did have to do a lot of crunching over the weekend in order to be able to finish the stack. I think I did like 160, maybe more hard clues on Saturday. So that was a little bit rough. Hopefully I can keep pacing better than that in the future so I don't have to cram during the weekend, because I am still a little worried about finishing the 500 hard clue stack if I've got something going on over the weekend, which won't let me, just grind out clues all day during the weekend. We're also coming up to the first end of month, so I, got to make sure I'm working enough hours to actually be able to pay rent at the end of the month. So balancing stacking so many hards and actually, making money is tough a little bit, but we should be able to make it. Today's going to be the first day that I'm actually stacking hard clues on stream. I'm pretty happy that I've been trying to keep that to a minimum and actually getting real content done on stream and then stacking clues off stream, because I've basically done nothing but stacking clues off stream. The only other thing that I've really started doing is I've actually started doing my farm runs again. And I'd like to get back into a swing of like actually doing my farm run every day, because if we want to hit 2 billion XP by the end of the year, I'm going to have to start supplementing it with some extra XP, especially now that we're 200 mil ranged. The XP is not going to come easily. So hopefully I can hit like 100 million farming XP this year. I think that's a pretty reasonable goal. I kind of did a little quick math, and if I did my farm run every day, I think I should be able to hit like 50 mil gain on the year. And right now we're at like 65 mil XP. So I think hitting 100 mil should be fine. And now, the moment of truth. I have something I need to confess to y'all. And I feel like this might be a betrayal to some people. This might come as a shock and a surprise, and, not something you wanted to hear today. But I hate nature Implings. There's just no two ways about it. They just suck opening up. I've started buying more magpie Implings, and after opening, 30, 40,000 magpies, I realize nature Implings just are horrible to open, let me tell you. I mean, they're not the worst thing in the world if you're just trying to do like 50 or 100 clues, but I've been leaning on magpies heavily for getting these 500 stacks done every week, and going back to natures every now and then just feels horrible. It really does. I mean, theoretically speaking, it should only take twice as long to open up the same amount of clues with natures versus magpies. But I don't know if it's just a mental game or if there's something else I'm not taking into account. But it feels like it takes like 3 or 4 times as long to open up the same amount of clues for natures. And I'll sit there, spam opening natures for half an hour, and then I look down at the floor and I've only got like 40 clues on the ground. And I'm like, this is like 2 hours of doing hard clues. This feels so bad. that I spent so long for so few hards. So that's all to say, I will definitely be spending more money on magpies and less money on natures moving forward, that's for sure. However, big news in the Impling price game right now. Magpies and natures started to go up a little bit. Today, magpies are back down to 18.5, it looks like, when they were up to like 19 yesterday. They spiked for a second in there. But empty Impling jars are 900 GP a piece right now, which is the highest they've been in quite some time. I usually try to hold off selling my empty Impling jars until they get up to the 900 mark, maybe even 1,000 if I'm lucky. So with the prices the way they are right now, hopefully that means, Implings will continue to sustain around that break-even point for magpies, maybe a little bit loss, but I can handle a little bit of loss right now, especially since I've been doing so much Nex. And, Nex just dumps money when she feels like giving you drops, which she hasn't really been giving us drops, which is a bit of a shame. But even still, I've already made a couple hundred mil from Nex, which definitely helps supplement losing a little bit of money on the magpies. So that's the camping tip of the day. If you're trying to grind out a lot of clue scrolls through Implings, definitely try to hold off on selling those empty Impling jars until they go up a little bit in price. It could save you so much money. At one point, I think I had 250,000, maybe even 300,000 empty Impling jars in my bank, but I sold off some of them a while back. I think when Impling jars went up to like 700 or 750, because they'd been languishing in like the 600 range for the longest time. So I think I've only got like 150K in the bank right now, but that'll be a nice little payday selling those off finally, and hopefully being able to snag some more magpies for around that 18K range. That's where I normally try to buy them. So I try to buy magpies around 18K. I know I just went on a massive rant about how much I hate nature Implings, but I probably will still try to buy some here and there to at least keep the nature stack above 200K, because, I mean, I feel like Impling prices have to go back up eventually. And this isn't even just me coping. This is more just like me trying to be precautious, is that Implings are at a, just ridiculously low price right now. They are at, I want to say, the lowest they've been in not even like a year, like 3 or 4 years. The fact that you can do hard clues through Implings and profit off of natures and break even on magpies is kind of insane. Even just like 2 years ago, I was losing like 150K a hard clue from doing natures. And magpies were even worse than that. And now you can profit off of nature Implings from hards, which is just ridiculous. And the one good thing I will say about nature imps is that if you're trying to buy a stockpile of imps, natures are way more affordable. I mean, a hard clue through nature Implings is like less than 400K in upfront costs, whereas magpies are like double that. It's almost 1,000,000 GP for upfront cost to get a hard clue from magpies. And that's just because magpies are so much more expensive, because the loot from magpies are a lot more expensive. All of the costs and everything I'm talking about right now, I get off of a wiki page. So I'll link that down in the description in case you want to take a look at that for yourself. Just be warned that, like most wiki pages, it uses the GE value from the in-game as opposed to like a GE tracker value, which is going to be more up to date. So it only updates its prices, I want to say like twice a day, maybe even once a day. So sometimes the prices that you see on there might not actually be indicative of what prices are in-game, especially if a item is fluctuating a lot in value. In other clue news, I've finally figured out a date that I'm shooting for opening the 1000 master stack, and that is going to be February 3rd at noon CST like usual. So my usual stream time on February 3rd. That's going to be a Tuesday, so hopefully I'll be able to align it with a main channel video as well. I like to do big openings with main channel videos. It just pulls more people over from the YouTube. The casket stack is currently sitting at 920 masters, so we're 80 away. We've got 2 hard clue openings before then, which should get us another 66.6 masters. So we'll probably still be short another 13 or 14 masters, but I might just do a little elite clue grinding to trade in a couple more elites for some more masters. This is another big confession I have to make that I mentioned the other day on stream, but I've actually been turning elite clues in for masters lately, and I know I feel dirty for it. It doesn't feel right, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And I just really want to get this 1K master stack done with, since originally I wanted it done by the end of last year. So it kind of feels bad that I still haven't finished it yet. But I think getting it opened at the beginning of February, I think would still be great. And then once we have those opened, we'll just keep stacking more masters again, basically. And then we'll open up all of our masters from the rest of the 26,000 hard clues at the end of December. So that should be another 1,500 masters minimum from just the hard clues, let alone other elites and other clues we get passively. I'll actually start doing elite clues again once I finish the 1K master stack. Like I said, I just wanted to turn in a couple just to finish up this stack because it is starting to drag on me a little bit. Other than being anxious about finishing up the 1K master stack, I would say the mental's been going pretty good so far for this first month. Like I said, it's a little stressful come end of month here, but I think it's been going well so far. It's just going to maybe be a little bit tougher once it starts getting to be summer and we're starting to try to actually do something during the weekend. So my weekend's just not fully free to grind out clues. On the flip side of that, though, I have started getting a little bored of the stuff that I'm watching while I'm doing clue scrolls, because obviously, clue scrolls are fun. They, take a bit of concentration to do well and quickly and efficiently. But I mean, I've done over 10,000 hards at this point. I've got a pretty tried and true method for doing them. And especially when it comes to like opening Implings, it's not that interesting. So I try to keep myself preoccupied by watching some interesting shows or anything. I was watching through Death Note, and that I really enjoyed, and it made it fly by. But then I've been watching One Punch Man and Assassination's Classroom, and those shows were like okay at first, but they kind of make me think of just like a worse Mob Psycho 100, because it's like when you've got characters that are unkillable and that's their entire gimmick, you can only do so much with the character unless you're really exploring them as a character. And it seems like One Punch Man Season 2 does not feel interested at all at exploring Saitama as a character. So I'm kind of just watching it being like, I should just be watching Mob Psycho 100 right now, which is probably what I'm going to do next. That's probably going to be on the top of my list for animes to finish, because I'm kind of sad I haven't finished that one. It was pretty good. I watched the first 2.5 seasons, I think. Now, that being said, I try to keep the anime spam brief, because I'm sure there are a lot of you that don't watch anime and don't care. But I also had a content creator that I listened to. He released a video talking about how he's obsessed with all of these like South Korean, not dramas, but like reality TV show / game shows. And there were some that were pretty interesting that he was talking about. He mentioned Culinary Class Wars, which if you like cooking shows and you haven't seen Culinary Class Wars, you absolutely have to watch it. It is probably the best and most refreshing take on a like cooking competition that I've seen in a long time, because I watch quite a lot of like cooking TV shows, and this one is phenomenal. Apparently there's a season 2 out that my friend was telling me about that I didn't know about, so I have to watch season 2. That'll keep me occupied for 10 hours, I'm sure. He also mentioned Physical Asia, which is a like fitness slash strongman competition, I believe. My wife watched it for a while and I think she liked it. So maybe I'll give that one a go if I'm really looking for something to watch, but that's a little bit lower on my list. However, he also mentioned a couple that I was not familiar with at all. One that I watched last night is called Crime Scene Zero, I believe. One second. Crime Scene Zero, which is a really interesting and weird combination of genres. It's like a murder mystery, but not like a murder mystery movie like Knives Out. It's more of like a murder mystery dinner party that got a like TV show budget. So they have these like big elaborate sets and everything, but all of the people are playing a character and they're in character talking to each other, trying to figure out who the murderer is. And it's like this really elaborate, over the top murder that they have to try to solve with all of these crazy characters that are doing these really weird, over the top things. I really enjoyed the first episode. The solution to the murder I was a little iffy on, but if you like murder mysteries like I do, it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it so far, especially as something to listen to in the background. Like I said, their commitment to like creating these sets and everything is pretty elaborate. So I've been enjoying it. Looking forward to watching more of that. Speaking of, again, if you're a big murder mystery fan, there is a show from like 2010, 2005 maybe, called Who Done It. It is an American reality TV show. This one's a lot more like reality TV-esque, where, you know, the people are playing themselves, but each episode, one contestant gets eliminated and, quote, you know, murdered. Not actually, but in universe murdered in some over-the-top way. And then everyone there has to put together the pieces of the puzzle to figure out who murdered him and how. And then whoever was the farthest away from finding out how the murder happened, they get eliminated in the next episode. And again, if you like murder mysteries, it's a pretty dang good one. This one's a little bit more like game show-esque, and, you know, it's from the early 2000s, and it definitely feels like it. But if you're a fan of murder mysteries, you have to watch it, honestly. Especially if you're a fan of like reality TV game shows. But I'm not even a big fan of reality TV game shows, and I loved watching it growing up, and I rewatched it couple months back or something, and I think it still holds up quite well. It's a real shame it never got picked up for a second season, because I was really, really into it as a kid. But I think it was a little bit ahead of its time, because even though the people weren't playing a character, they were always like in universe. You know, they would refer to someone as being murdered. They would have these like talking head interviews where they're saying like, maybe I'll be murdered next, or, you know, it's so scary that they keep killing us one by one. So they still always were in character the whole time, which I think is something that like early 2000s audiences were less familiar with. Whereas, you know, if you're in character like this nowadays, I feel like it's a lot easier for people to understand what's going on. But I don't think that was as common back then. But really, the whole game show basically boils down to like an elaborate game of Mafia. So there's that Mafia TV show that's on like season 3 or 4 now that I've never watched, but I might have to give that a go sometime too, because I've heard at least somewhat good things about that. You know, maybe I'll at least tune in to see season 1. So all of that's a very long-winded way of saying I need more content to watch. So please give me any suggestions you might have. About the only type of show that I don't really like are like crime dramas, which is weird because I love a good murder mystery, but like crime dramas just, they don't do it for me. Whether it's like one of those like real life like Dateline TV shows where, you know, they're recapping something that actually happened, Or if it's, like NCIS or something, they just don't do it for me for some reason. But thank y'all for stopping by as always. I will see you today on stream for stacking some hards or on Monday for opening up 500 more. So take care, and until next time, happy camping.